Podcast.
Welcome into the Business on Purpose platform. It's Monday. It's one of our favorite days of the week, and we're excited to get started. Scott Beebe here, your host. Make sure to check us out on the Business on Purpose podcast as well. Hey, before we dive in, wanted to let you know tomorrow, very, very important webinar happening tomorrow, Tuesday, May 12th, 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific. All you've got to do is go to bopwebinar.com. By the way, if you're listening to this and it's beyond May 12th, 2020, still go to bopwebinar.com. We always keep our latest webinars right there at that link so you can see. But this one that we're going to do is so many people are tired of throwing their marketing dollars down the toilet. So we're going to walk through a very, very simplistic marketing system, not a strategy, a system that I think will be very important. Hey, this is an important podcast. This is an important Facebook Live. It's an important YouTube. Because I'm going to talk about something that's going to be very, very sensitive. So recently, on February 23rd, Ahmaud Arbery was killed. And Ahmaud lived down in Brunswick, Georgia area, which is actually about an hour and a half south of where I live, while jogging on the streets of his neighborhood. And Ahmaud made a subconscious judgment based on his context to run in public on that particular Sunday. Notice I said he made a subconscious judgment call. He probably didn't think about it all that much because it's just his hometown. But two men, very different from Ahmaud, made a decision to insert themselves into his life. And these two men, a father and son, made a very conscious judgment call based on their context to physically confront Ahmaud in public on that particular Sunday. So what you had is you had three men, two very different perspectives on life, leisure, liability, among a variety of other issues. And the culpability of a father-son tandem who killed Ahmaud has finally surfaced, and we hope it's dealt with accordingly, right? Well, Ahmaud and his family, on the other hand, how do you deal with that accordingly? As my mind has processed its self-generated outrage has kind of come into my head, and a dominant question continues to surface that brings with it a range of emotion and confusion. And I've put this question in its most simple form. Why? Why? Strangely, it sent me into the closet of my books to see if there were some remote author mentors who may have written on issues of worldview perspective that may speak into the inequity that we've seen here just over the last few days. Well, Bob Roberts, he's a dear mentor of mine since my trip with him to northern Vietnam in 2005, and he's written a few books that force the American evangelical into a place where they see and hear in their day and their day-to-day grind with what Bob describes as the kingdom of God. Now, Bob's book, Glocalization, is a tour of globalized actors who have meandered throughout the globe, and they've laid eyeballs, and they've listened to the diversity of nations. Guys like Thomas Friedman, Fareed Zakaria, and others that you'll probably recognize as you read through. And as you read through Bob's review of his experience and insights, you begin to realize, oh my goodness, I am way different than most people on earth. Not just than a few people here and there, but most people on earth are not like me, and I'm not like them. Bob himself is a white evangelical American pastor in Texas, yet many of his closest friends do not share his race, do not share his citizenship, do not share his religion, and they don't share his religious convictions. That's intentional. Reading back through Glocalization, I was reminded, wow, most people really are not like me, even in my own hometown, even in my own congregations, church, synagogue, sports arena, wherever you congregate. Full disclosure, I don't just live in the South. I actually live in what they classify as the Deep South. And Wikipedia defines the Deep South as differentiated as those states most dependent on plantations and slave societies during the pre-Civil War period. And I read that and I thought, oh my goodness, come to my hometown and you'll drive by plantation after plantation. They're everywhere. My son just last week found out that a massive part of land, a parcel of land near our house, was owned by notable Civil War actors' family members, and there's land all around just like that. In fact, the very tree where the Southern secession talk was initiated in 1844 by the U.S. Representative Robert Barnwell Rhett is just down the street from where we eat lunch on a regular basis. Safe to say that we live in an area that is externally very simple, but internally very complex. I want to say that again. I live in an area that is externally very simple. You come down here, it's sweet tea and kindness, but internally, it's very complex. So I go back to my question. Why? Why did two men decide to take the life of one man? There's another question that continues to pop in my mind as I reflect on that idea, and it's simply this. Can you help me better understand? That question has popped into my head over the past few days. Can you help me better understand? It's a question I would like to sincerely begin asking more from a position of learning and humility, not the passive-aggressive use of, so help me understand, which accusingly highlights the asker's superiority over the askee. Instead, if I, a white Christian male living in the Deep South, come into relationship with an olive-skinned Muslim male living in the suburbs of Minneapolis, how can I humbly and reverently ask with all sincerity and simplicity, can you help me better understand? I have a hunch that the more that I begin to ask that question to a diverse audience, the less I will be ruled by my bias, and I do have bias. The less I'm ruled by my bias, the more I will begin to see God's kingdom in its variegated and diverse beauty rather than its standard issue American, deeply Southern, by and by, whitewashed hue. So 2 questions to begin asking ourselves. Number 1, who do I know who's different from me? Then after that, you can ask the follow-up question, can you help me better understand? And then, of course, you can finish that off with dessert and a simple and genuine thank you. Maybe instead of the emptiness of a brutal killing, we can help understand Ahmaud Arbery's legacy to be that of compelling us to ask a more sincere question. Can you help me better understand? I hope so.